Alright, hey everyone. So I had a few people asking me about breaking down a ring muscle up video the same way that I did for the bar muscle ups. So I'm going to do that real quick. I apologize for the video. It's not exactly the best quality. I had to actually record another video on my computer with my phone, and it's not exactly the best angle, but it's what I have. So first I'll show just a few reps. You can see what they look like at full speed, and then we'll kind of break it down. Alright, so that's the reps at full speed. Now I'm going to break it down the types of things that I think about. So first off, real quick, I'll talk about grip. I personally do not hold a false grip when I do muscle ups, ring muscle ups. But what I do try and do is when I grab the rings, I try and grab as much of the side of the ring as I can and grab it as deep in my palm as I can. So any bit of leverage you can get on top of the rings is going to help you on that turnover. So like those are the two things that I try and do when I get up there. When I get up to the rings, I walk up to the rings. Unlike the bar muscle up, I try to be basically directly underneath the bar, underneath the rings when I jump up there. But what I try and replicate is what I'll actually get into when I come down from one rep into the next. So usually a consecutive rep on a ring muscle up is quite a bit easier than the first one getting up there, unless you train how to jump into it enough. So I'll go show real quick what I do when I come down from another rep, so you can see with the movement that I'm trying to replicate. So when I fall down almost directly underneath the rings, so that I drop straight down with my upper body while my legs are basically laid out completely in front of me. So my hips are directly under the rings, my feet are in front of me, so that I carry that momentum to open my hips up behind me. So that's what I'm trying to do when I jump up to my first rep, and that's what I've explained to some people. So we'll see what I do when I walk up into it. I walk up into it, I jump up, so I'm almost creating that downward momentum as if I just fell down from another muscle up. Here it is with my hips directly underneath the rings. I'm straight underneath it, my feet in front of me, carrying that momentum to open up my hips in the backswing. So from there, I'm trying to drive my heels back in this direction to open up my hips as much as I can. My heels will come back, and that movement, I'm trying to open up. The analogy that Billy's used a few times, and I've told some people, is almost pretending like our spine and our legs create like an antenna on the front of a car, and we're trying to load up all this tension from here basically down to our knees, as if we're loading it all up as we go back. And then as we come back through, we're going to start to unload all that tension. At this point, I'm already starting to come through with my hips. Right now, another thing that I've told a lot of people is at this point, I'll immediately start picking a spot up on the ceiling, basically somewhere up, right around, say right around here. I'm trying to pick a spot up on the ceiling that I'm going to look at. As soon as I'm coming through, that's when I'm starting to let my hips rise up. That big kip with my hips, try and get my hips up to the rings as much as I can. I'm still spotting that spot on the ceiling right there, trying to get myself up as high as I can to those rings. Once I get to this position here, with that pull of my arms and the kip of my hips, that's when I'm trying to do that violent turnover with my head and my hands. As I told a lot of people, here I'm trying to do that violent GHD sit-up and literally shoot my forearms for the top of the rings. So there's a lot going on here, but the faster we can turn that over right there and pull those rings back behind us, the easier that turnover is going to be. The less room for error we have right there, the more likelihood you're going to get yourself up on top. As soon as I'm turning over right here, once I'm done looking at that spot on the ceiling, I'm trying to literally think about picking a spot somewhere down around here on the ground that I'm trying to look at as I come through. So I get myself in that dip position. From there, I can talk about kind of kipping, basically using that momentum here with my knees and my feet to drive me up to the top of that dip. For most guys, that's not as big of an issue. I know some of the girls that's an issue, but basically do whatever you can to get yourself up and out of that dip. So kind of show what that second rep looks like as I fall down. I'm thinking about getting myself in that same position, falling straight down underneath the rings. My hips are basically going to be directly in front of the rings by, I don't know, a few inches maybe. Feet are just way out in front of me, creating that momentum to force me to open up my hips in that back position again. Loading up real big backwards. And I'm going to come way up with my hips, snap that turnover through, and then dip right out of it. So I'll kind of rewind it again and play it in slow-mo so you guys can break down that first rep again. I know everyone's trying to get their first muscle up, so hopefully this helps. I know I'm throwing a whole lot at you guys, but that's all the pointers that I can think of, and you can have it all in a condensed video like this. So walk up to it, jump up a little bit above that full extension point, get my hips slightly in front of the rings, feet way in front, come down with that momentum, open up as big in the back as I can with my hips, coming through, popping my hips as much as I can, big pull, snap my head through, turn my hands over violently, keep those rings in nice and tight, dip up out of the top. So I'll show the second one real quick just so you guys can see. Falling down. And show it one more time at full speed. Just so you guys can see it one more time. Alright, so that's the video. I hope it helps some of you guys get your first muscle up. Hope it wasn't too confusing to watch, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask up or just leave comments below. Alright.